Welcome back to the Deep Dive. We're here to give you the shortcut to being well-informed. How? By taking one piece of news and, well, using it to unpack the complex systems running our world. I'm your guide, and before we jump in today, a quick welcome to vpod.ai. This deep dive is sponsored by Stonefly. They're leaders in enterprise storage, backup and disaster recovery, AI storage, and cloud solutions. If you're looking for secure, maybe ransomware-proof storage, Stonefly sells air-gapped and immutable options. You can reach out to sales@stonefly.com to schedule a demo. All right, so our mission today starts with something that might seem pretty minor, almost like a blip. A brief moment, really, on a single day when thousands of people just couldn't log into Venmo and PayPal. This happened Thursday morning, October 16th, 2025. It was temporary, fixed pretty fast, but we're using this small glitch as a lens, a spotlight, you could say, to illuminate this huge, complex, maybe even fragile ecosystem of finance and tech that's always humming beneath the surface.
And fragile is, I think, the key word there for you listening. If you were one of those people locked out of your digital wallet that morning, yeah, it was annoying, probably frustrating. But when you step back and look at the bigger picture, the whole economic environment, that login error, it starts to look less like an annoyance and more like a small tremor. What actually happens when the core infrastructure of our digital economy, the very rails that trillions of dollars run on, just momentarily stutters? A simple disruption like that forces us to ask some pretty deep questions about, well, the reliability of the whole system we trust with our money.
Okay, so let's ground this. The specifics, what exactly happened? What did we see? The reports are pretty clear, right? PayPal and Venmo hit issues around, what was it, 11:53 a.m. Eastern that Thursday.
Yeah, that's right. And the main problem reported was simple. People couldn't log in. They couldn't use the basic features of the app.
And we knew this wasn't just a few people
Because it popped up instantly on places like Down Detector, it was crowdsourced information almost in real time. That immediate widespread reporting tells you straight away, okay, this isn't just your phone acting up. This is something central, a system issue.
Right. And this is where it gets interesting, particularly in the context of finance. That initial period.
Yeah.
The lack of clarity.
Exactly. The news reports at the time highlighted it was a breaking story, the cause wasn't clear yet, and crucially, PayPal hadn't immediately put out a statement.
And that delay matters hugely in finance, doesn't it?
Oh, absolutely. In, maybe some other business, a few hours of no comment might be okay. Annoying, but okay. But when you're talking about platforms handling just an astronomical volume of transactions every single day, essentially digital cash, that silence, that delay, it fuels significant anxiety. Systemic anxiety, because modern finance runs on confidence, on the assumption of instant access, instant liquidity. If your access to your digital cash is suddenly blocked, even for a short while, the ripples are immediate, it hits confidence, it hits trust in the platform's stability.
Okay, I get the anxiety part, but some might argue, wasn't this just a brief login error, statistically tiny maybe? Why are we treating this specific, quickly resolved issue like some kind of major systemic threat?
That's a fair question, but it's because it shines a light on the centralized vulnerability in so much of modern fintech. When you look at the wider financial landscape these apps operate in, Venmo and PayPal, they aren't just simple apps anymore, are they? They're fundamental pieces of fintech, investing, even wealth management. Their smooth operation is assumed. It underpins the speed, the velocity of capital itself.
That's the key point, isn't it? It's moved way beyond just splitting dinner bills. These platforms are now part of the core plumbing for serious financial movements. They sit right alongside systems managing digital assets, things like crypto prices, NFT transactions, and also very mainstream stuff like ETFs and mutual funds.
Exactly. And that shows how the expectation of just seamless, instant digital movement has seeped into every single layer of finance, from like the most speculative crypto trading all the way to traditional investment funds. So the moment a core layer like payments hiccups, it means institutional investors, automated trading algorithms, huge fund managers who rely on instant settlement, they're all potentially stalled, even if just for a moment. Think about the sheer scale of global capital we're talking about. The kind of money tracked in lists like the world's billionaires or the Forbes 400. Ultimately, its movement is tied to this tech working flawlessly.
So we're shifting from user annoyance to actually quite serious risk exposure for high-level finance. And presumably this reliability issue doesn't just worry the big players. It must filter down and affect how regular consumers think about managing their money, too.
Absolutely. Think about the whole advisor ecosystem, the people helping you choose credit cards, navigate banking, find the best online banks, maybe get into high-yield savings accounts.
Yeah.
What's the big selling point for all these modern digital banks and services? It's convenience, right? Uninterrupted access. A very public outage like this, even a short one, directly hits that promise. It chips away at consumer confidence. It makes you realize, okay, the stability of my fancy high yield account or my credit card platform, it actually depends on these underlying payment systems staying up.
That erosion of trust, even slightly, immediately makes you ask, okay, how strong is the technology we're building all this on?
Right.
If the financial layer is potentially shaky, we need to look under the hood at the tech itself.
And that takes us straight into the world of enterprise technology, doesn't it? The systems propping up these huge payment platforms, they live in this intense environment focused on things like cloud, cybersecurity, digital transformation. You always hear companies promising to streamline, secure, and innovate.
Right, and there's the tension. Streamline and innovate often mean moving fast, pushing updates, using the cloud's flexibility. But then, boom, a critical platform like Venmo stumbles on something as basic as a login. And that makes you wonder, did the push for speed maybe compromise the secure part, that core promise of secure, reliable infrastructure? Maybe it's getting strained under the pressure to innovate constantly.
That's the core dilemma, I think. The analysis really points there. It's this constant trade-off. Building truly robust, secure systems takes time. It needs redundancy, exhaustive testing. Sometimes it means slower rollouts. But the market demands constant digital transformation. Speed is rewarded. So when a service that's absolutely critical for moving money goes down, it just hammers home the need for resilience, not just against hackers or ransomware, but against, internal mistakes, architectural failures.
And speaking of complex tech, the context here also mentions things like AI, enterprise AI, even something called agentic AI, getting integrated into finance. Maybe we should define that quickly for listeners.
Right.
What is agentic AI in this context, and why does its use make an outage potentially even scarier?
Good point. So, agentic AI, think of it as autonomous intelligence systems, programs that can basically define their own goals, plan tasks, and execute them without needing constant human oversight. In finance, this could mean AI agents making decisions about large trades, managing liquidity flows automatically, or even adjusting security settings on the fly. Now imagine these highly autonomous systems managing core financial functions. But the underlying infrastructure, the login system, the transaction pipeline, suddenly fails. The potential threat gets magnified significantly, right?
Right. Because, okay, when human-managed systems fail, humans step in, hopefully. They troubleshoot, they contain the damage. But if financial networks are increasingly run by these autonomous agents, a system failure isn't just a technical problem anymore. It becomes a potential systemic threat to the autonomous network itself, because you could have these smart agents suddenly acting on broken or incomplete information during the outage.
Precisely. It's that deep dependency. That's why every little failure, every bit of downtime, forces tech leaders to really double down on layered security and resilience. Protection against any error has to be absolutely fundamental, especially protecting data integrity or guarding against security breaches like ransomware, which could absolutely exploit a moment of vulnerability like an outage.
Okay, let's pull back from the high-level tech and finance for a moment. Let's bring it back down to earth. What about the immediate human-level consequences, the impact on daily lifestyle?
Well, the disruption there is instant, isn't it? Especially for people in the gig economy or running small businesses. We're not just talking about friends splitting a pizza bill anymore. Think about market vendors, freelance service providers, small shops, even tour guides. Many rely on Venmo or PayPal for immediate payment for dining, travel, maybe even niche things like boats and planes rentals or services. If that platform goes down, it's not just an inconvenience, it's a direct hit to their cash flow, their revenue stream, especially if digital payments are their main way of getting paid.
And then flipping to the business management side, that single failure creates real pressure within leadership circles, right?
Oh, definitely. When transactions just stop, it's not only the IT team scrambling, it immediately impacts small business strategy. It puts CFOs, the CFO network, and the CIOs, the CIO network under huge pressure. They have to justify why they chose those payment systems and crucially prove they have solid risk management and backup plans.
Yeah, the failure becomes a very vivid real-world case study for why things like backup and disaster recovery aren't just nice-to-haves. They are absolute core requirements for business continuity. It's not just about saving data. It's about ensuring the fundamental process of money moving actually keeps moving. Without that reliability, the whole digital economy can just grind to a halt.
So wrapping this up, we started with what seemed like a tiny footnote in the news cycle, a brief login problem, kind of a non-story. But by digging into it, we've actually mapped out this vast, incredibly high-stakes infrastructure of modern digital finance, from, global billionaires all the way down to a small business trying to get paid for a coffee. And I think the key takeaway here for you listening is that in today's deeply integrated digital world, there really is no such thing as a truly isolated technical glitch anymore. Every error, no matter how small or quick it seems, sends ripples across the entire ecosystem of money and innovation. That brief inability to log in, it's actually a signal about the potential fragility in the systems holding up global capital.
Which leads us perfectly into a final, maybe provocative thought. We touched on embracing for AI and the rise of agentic AI in finance. So as these financial networks become even more complex, managed not just by people who make mistakes, but by autonomous intelligence systems, what does robust, secure financial infrastructure even look like in that future? This single outage forces us to demand really entirely new levels of resilience, new security thinking, doesn't it? That feels like the critical question here.
It absolutely is. We have to think beyond just simple backup plans. We need to engineer systems that are inherently resilient, systems that can withstand the possibility of failure, even within their own autonomous logic. It's a huge challenge.
A fascinating and slightly sobering look behind the curtain of our digital wallets. Thanks for breaking that down. And a final thank you to our sponsor. This deep dive was sponsored by Stonefly, a leader in enterprise storage, backup and disaster recovery, AI storage, and cloud solutions. If you're looking for secure, ransomware-proof storage, remember Stonefly sells air-gapped and immutable storage. Contact sales at stonefly.com to schedule that demo. Thanks for tuning in, and we'll see you next time on The Deep Dive.